I need one more page to print it. Hey, Addie and Kylie. How's it going, ladies? Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is my... Yeah, you should be able to. Can you guys either chime in or just type in the chat box so I know that you can hear what I'm saying? All right. We'll start in a couple minutes, see if anybody else shows up. I was just going through my inbox, and it looks like so far I have something from Addie and something from Parker. Kylie, did you send me anything this week? I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody's. Okay, that's fine. Do either of you have questions about what you're doing this week? I'm just gonna... I don't think so. I might later. That is fine if you do later. Okay, well, it's time to get started, so we'll jump on and see if the boys decide to join us later. So I just want to silence my phone. Okay. Oh, there's RJ. Hello, RJ.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good. Oh, wait. Addie says, oh, wait, I do. Can the piece we make into something new, can it be from one we haven't finished? Yes. Yes, it can be from one you haven't finished. So really quickly, I'll do a little bit of a review of what you're doing for this week's assignment, and then we're going to look at some work, and we'll be good to go. So this week, I was really... I was reading some other artists' posts and thinking about some different things that really inspire artists and help to push their work forward. And one of the things is the ability to not just abandon a piece of work when it doesn't come out the way that you expect it to come out. So your challenge this week is to take a previous piece of work. So it could be something that's in your sketchbook. It could be something that you started, but you already kind of abandoned because it wasn't doing what you wanted it to do. It could be a piece from this course that you didn't really love, a piece from previously, wherever you want to pull it from, that's totally fine. But what you're doing this week is trying to figure out how can you save it. And so one of the brainstorming things that can normally get a lot of ideas going is just asking yourself the question, I wonder what would happen if, over and over and over again. So I wonder what would happen if I turned it upside down. I wonder what would happen if I chopped it into pieces and re-put it back together. All of those things. So when you're going through the I wonder what would happen if questions, really try and just not worry about if it makes any sense, if you have the materials to do it, and just let your mind kind of go crazy and see where you end up. And then just to give you some more ideas, I pulled some artist videos that were doing some kind of intriguing things. So the one woman, she makes all of her artwork out of rolling up masking tape, which I thought was kind of interesting and more beautiful than I anticipated it to be. There's another one that does all portraits out of yarn, so I thought of Addie when I saw that one, since you tell me every week that you want to do more sewing and working with string, so I pulled that one in. And the last one is a little bit more, she does a lot of character design, so RJ and Kaylee, you might be into that.
Wow.
And she talks a lot about the story behind her work and how she actually gets the ideas for what she's drawing and what she's painting, and you get to see her process as son. So this week is just kind of about pushing yourself into trying things that maybe you wouldn't normally try and seeing if you can rescue a piece of work. The piece of work can totally be transformed. It's up to you how much it changes, but it does need to be an element of the new piece. If you're stuck on where to go or unsure as usual, feel free to email me. But I think it should be fun, and it's always fun to save an old piece of work. Then this week, I tried to give you a little bit of catch-up time because I felt like a lot of people were kind of feeling overwhelmed and falling behind. So the goal of this week was to help you get over that a little bit. And we do have a break coming up, I think the end of March. I don't remember off the top of my head. Let's see. Yeah, so March, the very end of March. So March 30th through April 5th. So very, very end of March, you have a week off. So we have a couple weeks to work, and then you'll have another week to either have off or to kind of work on catching up on things.
All right.
RJ as a dolphin head is cracking me up. So what we're going to do, I think I only have 2 pieces of artwork that got sent into me thus far. So we're gonna look at those, talk about those, and then I will hang out to answer any questions. So if you have in progress things that you want feedback on, you can show that up on the screen, and we'll just talk about it live. So let me switch up my screen. And off we will go. Okay, so are you seeing artwork on your screen?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so hold on, let me scroll up because we're down farther. Too many screens. Okay, so this first piece is which I'm going to try and shrink so you can see the whole thing at once. So this first piece is by Parker, and what he was working to do was he wanted to go a little bit more into abstraction than usual. And I'm going to show you a couple close-ups. His main question with the piece was really dealing with balance, and so that can be a challenging thing when you go into more abstract work. Because you have to make more decisions on your own. So when you're doing something that's realistic, you have a little bit more information as to when something's finished and what it's supposed to look like. So this is the whole finished piece, and he also played again with kind of a different size and shape of a canvas to push his composition. So this canvas is really tall and thin, and then let me blow this up. So these are 2 close-ups that he showed as well. So we have this figure down here, but a figure that's, you know, not detailed and really broken into shapes, and more of a cityscape that has all kinds of which this one you can see closer up too. So all kinds of kind of patterns and textures. So what I wanted you to respond to first, since this was his specific question that he felt like he was kind of struggling with, was when you're looking at this piece, how do you feel about the balance? So thinking about, do you feel like there's one area that's a lot heavier than another? Do you feel like something needs more or something needs less? Hello, Jared and Parker. And you can either talk or type. So Parker, while they're kind of contemplating on the whole balance idea, do you want to pop in and tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind this piece and your thought process and how you ended up making it?
Well, this is one of my most favorite pieces to do. It was a lot more experimental. It was a lot more fun to do. When I first coated the entire paper using brown paint, brown acrylic paint, and then I decided I did have an idea how I wanted to do the blocks, but then I didn't want suspended squares. I want to add some sort of form in the back of them that's more free form. So I decided to use green acrylic paint to add these expressive splotches that are parallel and vertical as the same to the blocks. And then I gradually layered it and layered it. I looked at Picasso's works, which has a lot of cubism, and especially for the woman at the lower bottom, which has a lot of cubism elements and jagged lines combined with curves. I also added some contrasts. The rounded form of the woman contrasts with the rectangles, and the rounded moon in the top is really contrasting to the surrounding squares. So I was adding balance to and forth. I split the painting into the right side and the left side, so I could see the relationships they share.
That's a good idea as to how you went about kind of breaking it down and building up layers, which abstract work is really a lot about the layering and kind of knowing when to stop and when to keep on going, so that the piece does still have some kind of visual interest and focus, as well as I mean, really, as usual with your pieces, it could be cropped a whole bunch of different ways. That it could be cropped here, and then it just becomes kind of like a very, very abstract piece where the woman gives us, like, she's a very abstracted figure, but she gives us a little bit more information about what we're looking at. And these kind of nice green strokes become really powerful because otherwise there would be like this kind of very strict, harsh horizon line. That they start to play a little bit like reflections, especially because she's walking with an umbrella, which would make it seem like this could maybe be a little bit shinier. So those were good marks. So let's see, what does Addie say? I really like the face in the upper corner, so I think this is the face. It reminds me of Picasso's Dream. Speaking of the dream, did you know that someone put their elbow through it? No, I didn't know that. And being the most expensive painting in the world, I would not want to be the person who put their elbow through it. Yeah, so that's kind of fun too, and that's what's always sort of interesting, at least for me when I look at abstract work, to really spend time looking at it and seeing what things you can find that are kind of hidden inside of the work. Kaylee says, the top obviously has a lot more going on than the bottom, but I think that it is a good balance between the two. The person at the bottom also breaks up the black. It looks great. Yeah, and so this right here is giving us some really wonderful visual resting space. And that whenever you're doing pieces, abstract or really realistic, part of what you want to think about is, and there's not necessarily one that's right or wrong all the time. Some of it is what kind of emotion or what kind of thought are you trying to portray or feeling are you trying to create. So if this was cropped off, This part up here would be a little bit more exhausting because there's this little rest place in the middle, but not a lot. There's just like this really fast movement then, lots and lots of rhythm jumping around up here. But this down here lets us kind of like relax. We get to look at the woman and then go back up to it. So you're probably going to spend more time looking at a work like this that you have some rest space than something that's kind of cramped and closed in and making you feel like you're just going and going and going and going. But it does have a good contrast of that rhythm. Like here, nice, calm, and smooth, and up here, kind of intense. Addie says, I do not think that it looks unbalanced, maybe slightly weighted to the side with the woman. I think that the words add a nice touch, but there are more words on the right side than on the left. Also, the figures are both on the right side. Yeah, that is true that there's kind of, we have this face and this face, which maybe this side feels a little bit heavier. But I don't think that's a bad thing. But if we were picking out where the weight would be over here on this side, partly because of both the figures. So are there any other things hidden in here, Parker? I'm zooming in.
I like it. I think I like the balance a lot.
Oh, here's an eyeball.
Oh, okay. It's really neat. It reminds me almost of like, I don't know, like a Japanese city or something.
Yeah, the colors are very energetic and playful, which goes well. So this is also thinking about how you're using color. So these colors, for the most part, are already warm colors, working with the reds and the yellows, and the green is more of a greenish yellow. Really starts to create some interesting energy in the piece. And then because there's so much repetition of the rectangle that's moving and moving and moving and moving, so this is a good example of looking at how are we creating visual rhythm within a piece, as opposed to when you go down here with all this open space and it seems kind of slow and calm. And you did a good job of just pulling a little bit, so this kind of teal blue popping in as a nice contrast, a nice cool color contrast up against all of the warm colors. That goes back to the idea of, we do like contrast to be showing up in things. It helps keep everything from being kind of all muddy and blurring together. Here are some. The green mass in the front of the woman is a baby carriage. Hold up a second. Another hidden detail is the wine shop, the bottle on the left. I feel like I'm on a scavenger hunt now.
For a second, I thought I saw the Deadpool logo.
So is this is a baby carriage? Yeah. Where's the wine shop? Shop.
Oh, okay, I see.
Is it this? Hold on. The wine shop, the bottle on the left.
It's right above the fish.
Oh, yeah. So fun. This feels like an instrument to me. It's not really, but it looks like it should be one.
Yeah, I love all the details, man.
Cool. And then, yeah, I think I showed you guys in the night. So these are the two kind of close-up views. The woman is very, very reminiscent of Picasso when you see it up close with this, where you left the circles overlapping and we're kind of getting a little bit of a twisted perspective of the figure. Good stuff. All right, and then this is the only other piece I got, unless one of you is like, you sent it to me and I didn't see it. All right, so Addie went in and, well, why am I telling you? Addie can tell you. Addie, tell us about your piece and what you did.
Well, my Hope is the Thing with Feathers piece had 3 separate elements that weren't really connected. So I tried to make them more of one piece instead of 3 separate random elements.
Mm-hmm. Do you happen to have the old piece that you could show us?
I can get it. One moment.
Okay. Just so you guys can kind of see a comparison. So she took this time this week to rework an old concentration piece that she wasn't super happy with. All right, can you guys see Addie down there?
Kind of, maybe.
Can you guys see that? Maybe. Okay, so I'm assuming they can see that, but
What's easier?
okay. So I'm gonna pop back to the original one. So some of the things that Addie and I had talked about was really working to make the text and the writing feel like it was more a part of the overall piece, as well as there was some string flowing through it, and as she was saying, each element kind of felt like its own thing, and they didn't feel like they all really connected together. So the goal was to figure out, so you can see kind of the red string flowing through here. The goal was to rework the piece with the same kind of concept, so you don't have to come up with a whole new idea. So still working with the feather, but thinking about how it all comes together. So Addie, it looks like, from what I can tell, you ditched the string, you got rid of the red string completely, correct?
Yes, I did, but the one that you have up here is the one with the string that I just kind of cut on there without any arrangement whatsoever. The other one that I sent you does not have the string on it.
Let me find the other one. I think it was this one. All right, I will have the other one up in a moment. So since you did two different versions, Addie, which one are you feeling more inclined to?
Well, I wanted to do the string because it's my first piece and it should tie into the other 11. But I'm not sure what to do with it.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so this is image number 1 with the string. So these are little pieces of string scattered throughout it. This is image number 2 without the string. So throughout Addie's concentration pieces, she's had string as some kind of element within the piece. So any ideas, especially since you've seen 1 with the string and 2 without the string, as to what you would like to see, what you think would be an interesting way to incorporate string into this piece?
If you want to incorporate the string, one idea that I have, just like thinking of it right away, would be to kind of maybe, if there's a way to string the words together, hope. That's probably the most prominent text on the, so maybe if there's a way to do that, I don't know.
Okay. It's all right. You don't have to know how to do it. What is this painted on, Addie?
Painted on meaning like paper or canvas?
Yep, you got it.
It's paper, and I was thinking about taking a needle and like stitching the words together.
Mm-hmm.
But I was kind of scared to do that because then you'd have holes in your paper if it didn't work out.
Yep. Understandable. So yeah, so one thing could be stitching the words together, and it is one of those things that once you do it, you can't really go backwards. So another thing to think about with that, what I really always do for my own work, and I tell my students a lot, is if you make a mistake on a piece that you can't like erase or take away, which unfortunately happens a lot, then part of what you need to think about is sort of reframe your thinking about a mistake and think, okay, how can I repeat this enough times that it no longer looks like a mistake and it becomes intentional? So if you would say, start to sew these letters together and realize, oh my gosh, I hate it, so you take the string out and now you just have holes in here, then what you want to think about is how can those holes, how can those needle holes actually become just another texture that's being brought into your piece. So if you did do that and hated it, you could, because you already have the circles going on all over it, you could go ahead and take a needle and stab through a bunch more places in your paper so that you're starting to make it look consistent, and then it looks intentional because you've done it enough. Another thing, because there's, you know, even when I think of a feather, when I think of the texture of a feather, it already has some similar qualities to it that really thin thread does. So you could also play with the idea of doing some, like you don't need to do the whole feather, but so maybe up here, this part of the feather could be stitched into it. Here, Jared and Parker left something, so let's see what they said. I believe that the artist could make the string follow, oh, look at that, they're agreeing with me, the central stem of the feather. Then the artist could add other strings that branch off from the central stem that fall, I think, follow the upward movement of the feather. Addie says, did you know that feathers have 23 uses for birds? I have no idea. You're full of all kinds of random facts today, Addie. Do you know all 23 uses? She's going to have to type for a while.
I have a list of them. I can send them to you.
Yeah, I need to learn something new today. Yeah, so I think definitely because the feather already has the feel of string. So I think I would work on bringing the string, doing some like loose stitching up the central stem, and you can even do some like big stitches so that, you know, it's not really tight down and we can see the thread almost hanging, almost like the feather is coming to life. So what you want to think about is how can you play out this great texture that you already have and match that with the quality of the string. I think that's going to come across a little bit more elegant and more incorporated than if you just stitch the letters together. How do you feel about that, Miss Addie?
I think that is a good idea. I was thinking about silver string as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought that would kind of tie the elements together instead of the gold I used on some of the other pieces.
Yeah, yeah. Get your needle and thread out.
Yes.
All right, so that is all the work that was sent to me. So if any of you have like something near you on your computer and you want to share your screen with us and want us to talk about it in progress, we most definitely can. If you don't, that is fine as well. So I know Jared and Parker, you have midterms this week. Is that what your mom said? Yes. Oh, look at that with an exclamation point. I don't know if that's excited or like, oh my gosh, yes, I have midterms. So that should be fun. I never like big tests, so I never get excited about midterms. Oh, you did one just an hour ago. Hopefully you did awesome. I'm sure you did. So what you want to kind of keep looking at, and like I said, some of you were on, not all of you were on, that at the end of this month, so like March 30th to April 4th, you have another break coming up, kind of looking at how many pieces you have finished, and knowing by May 8th is when the whole portfolio is due, and that's when you have to have 12 breadth pieces and 12 concentration pieces. So we are getting there, as well as remember and really look through your work that you potentially have pieces that you did outside of this class that could feed into your breadth portfolio. So if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, that's another thing that you want to look into, or maybe concentration pieces that you started and were like, I don't want this in my concentration. But overall, I think we're all pretty good. So this week you're rescuing a piece. So hopefully you have fun rescuing and making it beautiful once again. And as you finish whatever you were working on last week, or some of you might have just taken the week off, send stuff my way, and I will do grading, send feedback, and all of that wonderful stuff. Whoa.
All right. Whoa, what is that?
I think this is Addie telling me about feathers. Holy smokes. All right, I've got a lot to learn. So,
Holy feathers, Batman.
yeah. Does anybody have any questions, concerns about anything that is going on?
Oh, just like a question in general.
Sure.
Is it fine, like, if I have a sketch that I like and maybe it isn't finished, but maybe I want to like ink it or redraw it? Is that fine to, like, if it's just a sketch, or does it have to be like a work?
This week's assignment, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, that's totally fine. So this is really about taking something that you started and abandoned at some point, and you're saving.
Okay.
Yep. So that's
All right. Sounds great.
all right. And have any of you? The AP site is wide open. Have any of you gotten your AP coordinator key so that you could start uploading work yet, or how's that process going?
Not yet. We got an email from her, and she's still figuring it out, and she said she was pretty close, but that was like a couple weeks ago, so.
Okay. Well, progress is good. Anybody else having issues with it? I know Jessica, who's not on, was having some trouble, which I think we might have gotten worked out, but everybody else is good? You think you're good?
I'm good.
Okay, cool. Okay, Jared and Parker, you found a school. Awesome. So you do kind of want to keep following up with them until they give you all the information to get onto the site, because it's also coming close to the time where they are putting in the orders for the physical information they need to submit the physical part of your portfolio. So you want to make sure that they know that you and your portfolio exist, so that you're part of that process. So if you don't have a school, if you haven't touched base with one yet, you really want to get on top of that this week. It's okay if the logistics aren't all figured out this week, but you do want to make sure that they know you and your work exist. Okay?
Right.
All right. Well, it was wonderful chatting to all of you, and I will go learn about all the things feathers. All right. Have an awesome night, guys.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
It was a great chat.
Bye.
Okay, see ya.